I'm busy. Yeah. Good thing. Good thing. Keeping me young, right?
Yeah.
Anyone else coming?
Nope, I
Okay.
think we're good. So we have the vacancy and.
All right. Well, it looks, according to the clock on the other end of the room, that it's 3 PM, so why don't we have a roll call, please?
Oh, sorry, I read the list. Kara Croft,
Here.
Harrison Smith,
Here.
Brett Minke,
Here.
Kevin Zier.
Present.
Dennis Roy Senior.
Here.
Steve Taw.
Here.
And then we have a vacancy, Deb Neese has resigned, and the Fargo Art Commission liaison is absent. She's out of town.
Who was that resigned?
Deb Neese.
Oh, okay.
And then Michelle Reeder, our finance director, is out of the office this week. And then Scott Cromer, superintendent, and I'm Elizabeth.
Okay. Well, we also have received the November minutes. Someone like to make a motion concerning the approval of those minutes?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as read
Thank you.
and place them on file.
Just a second on that. Wasn't that the one that had Ms.? Do you want to be called Ms.?
Oh,
Kevin?
did I?
I don't care.
Yes. Then I'll second it.
Where is it?
You're okay.
What page are we on?
Well, last page.
Ms., oh yeah, I see that.
I can correct
Okay,
it.
we can,
Okay.
I don't have anything. It's-
with that
I read the
correction,
I got it.
is there a second? Your second, right?
Yeah, I'll
Dennis?
second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. First quarter financial statement was also prepared and presented to us.
I'm sorry, it's small print.
Scott, it looks like the sale of lots is consistent from years past. Burial permits are down a little bit. One thing I saw that, when you look at the bottom line, and as an accountant, you could probably help us with this. We have 501,473.13 as compared to, well, that's total available cash. All right. Anybody have any questions? If we can't get answers today, we can certainly get them from Michelle.
Well, I'm a little curious as to the change in budgeted versus available cash from the line of special care. That figure does
Quite a bit different.
stand out, and I
Is the burial
think maybe
permits-
Michelle could
You buy
tell
those
us
from
about that the
the
next
county,
time.
don't you? Don't the county issue those?
Yeah.
Unless somebody,
Yes.
I don't have an
I'm
answer.
thinking
That
that's
would be
like their
hers.
opening and closing fee is how they have that categorized.
We can make a
We can
note,
question
and
that.
email her,
Okay.
and follow up at the next meeting.
Is the burial permits, that is something that is purchased from the, or procured through the health department, isn't it?
The language that finance uses is a little misleading. Those are burial services.
So it's like your opening and closing.
Opening,
Yeah.
closing?
I'm not sure why
Okay.
that was historically is what they've been called, but that's what the accounts
Yeah.
in which we receive service.
I looked at that too, but I was the only thing missing, so.
Okay. Any other questions we want to present to Michelle?
well, really, maybe we should,
Table this till the next time?
well, or if we're asking Michelle, maybe ask for, there's 3 items that are sort of similar in the disproportion. I think starting with that last set of accountings, the endowment cemetery accounts, and looking down at numbers 3, garden, mausoleum, and then 2 down from that, the special care, and then 4 up from the bottom.
Ridgeview.
There's 20, yeah, Ridgeview. I mean, there's 3 really significant differences in what was budgeted and what we've received so far in cash in 2024. And I mean, while special care stood out the most, while we're asking, why don't we ask for all 3 of those
Okay.
of Michelle?
Are there large projects planned to spend down some of that cash?
So I know historically we've gone through some of these, the mausoleums, and we put in for mowers and taken a bit of each to purchase mowers for mowing the grounds and around them because we do take care of them. So I know that has been done. And we did just purchase a mower here this year, so that could be, but I don't know. The one, yeah, I would have to ask on the.
But even that,
one.
Scott, sounds like something that would normally be budgeted.
Yes, it would be budgeted and it would be
We're talking about the variation from a budget, so,
to that, right, to the available cash.
yeah.
And to answer Kira's question, the planned projects are gonna come out of capital account.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're
Yeah.
not using these?
I mean, it's a good inquiry, so there's
Right.
no hurry in the answer, but
Any other questions? Okay, we will present, and maybe we can meet with Michelle. This isn't going to affect us being able to go forward, so we can talk to Michelle at the next meeting and see what answers we can get from her. Old business, Scott.
So on old business, we have, which we spoke about, the board vacancy. We have Deb Neese. So we do have one. We've contacted, I think, the Veterans Affairs and asked them if somebody on their staff would want to be on the board, but we have not received any inquiry back to that. So kind of waiting on that one. So if you guys know of anyone, obviously let us know, and it's got to go through the commission. I believe the commission president grants it once we have possible candidates. So if you know anybody that would like to be on it.
Okay.
Moving on to operations update. Just to give you guys kind of an overview, we had a successful Memorial Day parade. We had to bring in a lot of help from other divisions to get the grounds mowed. It was a challenging spring. We did get a few complaints on Mother's Day because we did have areas in the cemetery that did have long grass. In the past, we've been fortunate to get some seasonal help early, some older gentlemen to come in and help mow. This year it didn't work out, so we had to wait for high school kids to work seasonal. They can't start until June, so we had a couple start a couple weeks earlier, and then we also had a full-time person that that resigned, and then we had one that bid over from another division around that same time. So now we're back fully staffed with 3 full-time people, and the grounds are looking real good. I don't know if anybody's been out there recently, but we've got a handle on the mowing. We did buy an additional mower that fits our needs a little bit better than what we had. We had some older ones, and this one's a little bit smaller width-wise to get up and down the roads a lot easier. So we've been doing that. We've been working on the drainage in some of the low swale areas up by the ridge, as they call it. Sewer department's been out there cleaning some catch basins, running some tile that historically is flooded over the years. So we've been trying to clean that and alleviate that so we can get to mow that area and it not get so long with the equipment we have, because usually in the springtime it floods out and then we can't get in there with mowers and kind of piles up on us. So we've been working on that. You guys have seen the new building down below. We put a couple catch bases in there. We took some trees out around the curve back behind the shop area, and we've expanded the parking back a little bit so we can get, with bigger trucks nowadays, sewer trucks and big dump trucks, now we can make that curve a little bit easier to get in and out of there to haul dirt or whatever we have to do, so. We've been doing a little fine tunings in the area just to make it, easier accessible with large equipment with the city, so. We've been working on that quite a bit, and that's been multiple other divisions. We have been using cemetery staff, but I just kind of want to let you guys know that we've been trying to help the ease of getting in and out with the equipment, so we're not rutting it up so much, so.
Is the traffic flow from the county the same, or is it
As far
not a
as,
problem driving through?
no, it doesn't seem to be a problem,
Okay.
no. It's just mainly just our bigger equipment nowadays with the Vector trucks and the dump trucks and the backhoe. It's very narrow, and we've taken a few trees down that were dead. Our forestry department's come out and taken a few trees down, try to keep up on that, and they've been watering now with water bags to
I think
keep the trees that we planted from
a week or
dying.
two ago, I was driving out Columbus Avenue going south, and there was a funeral that made a left turn off of Perkins onto Columbus Avenue, and there was a lot of cars. Then they started back in the back entrance, probably because of the Cedar Point traffic they did.
We had actually, did you say last week, was it?
2 weeks ago, maybe?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
we had actually two funerals same time, so we brought one in the front gate, we brought
Okay.
the other one in the back gate. Yep,
Okay.
I did know that, yep. So, I think that kind of wraps up, on the operations or what we've been doing. And then I'll move on, if you got any questions on that, if anybody's got any questions? No? As far as, capital improvements, so we talked about the roadway and re-blacktopping some of the roadway. That is our plan moving into the fall, is to pick out some more roads and asphalt them and get it a little bit wider. We've been digging out wider because of vehicles are wider. It seems like trucks, and it's hard to make turns, kind of making those radiuses a little bit bigger as much as we can. That is still the plan. The other plan is we bid out, or we got quotes on painting the chapel on the inside. The paint and the walls have been peeling because we had a bee problem. They've been like buckling, or not buckling, but kind of bubbling, the paint. So they're gonna come in, sand all that off, because we have addressed the bee problem as far as sealing up the roof. So they're gonna come up and sand that, and then the whole wood area on the inside, they gave us a quote to repaint all that.
So the bees are gone?
We have a few, I'm not gonna say totally, because I think we're always gonna have a few.
Sure.
But we do work with a local exterminator to come in and treat it as needed, so.
Okay.
But yeah, when we did the grouting of all the stone and then the ceiling, and we put new gutters on, when we did that, they sealed up all underneath the flashing and the roof. They
Okay.
sealed all that up and tightened it up and mortared it in, so. That was a big thing, but it seemed to work really well last year, so.
Any
That's-
questions of Scott about anything? Do you have any, you said you had some younger people helping to mow. How many?
So we have three kids that come in, 7 to 3 every day. We have one kid that comes in 2 days a week. And then we're just in the process of hiring another one to come in from 7 to 3. But since they are seasonal, if they have time off, a lot of these are college kids, some are high school, so if they got football, we work around it, because, anything we can get nowadays, it seems like. So if they can work a half a day, or only 2 or 3 days, or sometimes they go on vacation, they'll take a few days off, so I try to keep enough to keep, a happy medium there with the budget, and then try to get done what we can get done, so. It's been a challenge, but it seems like we got a really good group of kids here this year, so.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Anything else anyone has for Scott? New business.
So new businesses, memorial monuments. We've got questioned by a couple people, looking through the rules and regulations. it identifies some of what they're requesting, but it's kind of vague. So that was part of the email we sent out. I think everybody saw that. We had another individual that is out of state. The body is buried in a cemetery out of state. They are from this area. They would like to purchase a grave, which is no problem. I mean, that's an easy cut and dry thing, but they would like to they have no intention of disinterring the body and bringing it over, but they would like to have a headstone as a memorial to place on a grave site, to come out and have a place.
So there wouldn't be a body buried there?
There would not be. And it's similar to the one that I sent out to everyone on the request. The difference is the name of the person on that memorial is buried there and has their headstone, but this is someone that would like another memorial headstone on a separate grave.
Is this a family plot that they're moving to, or just buying a new plot to honor?
The one I sent you, or?
No, the one that you're talking about.
Talking about, they're just buying a
Okay.
plot, yep. So I'm kind of wanted to get your guys' feedback and what your thoughts are and have a little dialogue so we can talk through this. This is the second one. I'm sure we're going to have more. Seems like other cemeteries that we know of do this, but we don't have any language in the rules and regulations to kind of guide me through this, so.
Well, it's a sale of a plot.
Correct.
You're not gonna place a body there. All you're gonna do is put a memorial stone on, or headstone on that grave.
You already have plots out there that does not contain a body. Back in the veterans section, I think there's several in there that their bodies was never recovered, but they do have a headstone.
Oh, sure, there's
So-
a fair number of those where somebody purchased a headstone and.
Well, it's a government-issued headstone. It's not a family-purchased one.
Yeah, well, I think the only issue is what kind of inventory we have and for how long. And I'd heard that we have sufficient burial spots to last for 400 years, but I don't know if that is fiction or fantasy, I mean, or fact. Do you know, Kevin?
Off the top of my head, I do not.
I think that issue has come up, however.
Oh, it
before.
has for years.
Uh,
We even
and-
talked about double depth burial at one point.
And I noted in a recent newspaper article that the state was providing additional funds for the county for the fairgrounds. And when you look at that, you have to wonder, is our availability of inventory for spaces sufficient that we don't need to be inquiring of the county as to whether the county would rather have some space that the city owns elsewhere than the county fairgrounds. I have no idea. But I think maybe it would be a good idea if we knew what the estimate is of how many years worth of sales we have at the rate we're going. And I think to Kevin's point and to Brett's, at one time, I think we understood that you had more spaces as a result of cremations, but I'm not sure that that's the case, really.
So I know that's been brought up, our available space and I don't have those exact numbers. All I can say is there's a couple things that we are moving forward in trying to get a better answer to your question,
Okay.
which is we did hire an intern. She did go out and GIS every single space that we have in the cemetery. Now that's headstones. So we are working on trying to work backwards, kind of work the math backwards as far as how many headstones we have, and then taking pictures of the headstone, and then we've got to verify that with not only paper records, but also our legacy Legacy Mark, which is our software for the cemetery, which we're moving our paper records to. So
Yeah.
we're in the midst of doing that.
Okay.
The second thing we did do, because of space, like you're talking about, and available space and limited, is we put in the rules and regulations about if a space is not used in 50 years, that we can send an ad out and make
Yeah.
sure that someone that maybe is next to it can use it. So I think that opens up some possibilities
hope so.
too, and gives us more room, essentially.
You know, what we face because of the rolling hill characters of our cemetery is standing water. And
Right.
not wanting to bury someone in those areas. So you gotta maybe rule those out or put in some tiling or whatever you might want to do to.
And that's like the area that, there by the ridge, that is always wet, but there are potential spots it could be there if that is functioning correctly. Maybe not at the very bottom, but I know there's, I don't know, footage wise, let's just say 50 foot of there before it gets to the very bottom of that swale that could be potential sites. So this is part of getting this tile system figured out and more reliable. So maybe down the road we can sell those areas.
Every time I think about this, we're kind of like a small city.
Yeah.
We don't have a police, well, we do have a police department in some respect, no fire department, but we have roads and
Right.
drainage and lighting and electric and
Right.
all that, so.
Scott, are you considering having a designated area for just these legacy monuments as opposed to being out among?
That's where I don't, I mean, I'm really looking for feedback. If
I mean,
we should do that, if we.
Some of
Pretty
those
much
wet
anywhere-
areas might be a nice option for that. 'cause
Say that again?
Some of those wetter areas might be a nice option
Okay.
for that because you're
Yeah.
not burying there. Although a lot of people that do that want to be near family members that are existing,
Yeah.
so kind of defeats the purpose, but we do have a lot of people that do that with the rise in cremation scattering, then they come back a few years later and they want the permanent memorial, and Brett can speak to that, but having that permanent memorial is important to people. I think saying it's off the table as an option is a hindrance, really.
Do we have numbers, like in the last 10 years, where full burial or interment versus today versus 10 years ago? When we talk available space, we're seeing the downtrend significantly, not just a minor, but significantly, that most of us in the business are seeing. So I would say in the last 10 years, the burial rate is way less than it was. I mean, if we go back 30 years ago.
Say
you know,
the full
to-
burial?
Yeah,
Okay.
compared to today's burial rate, it's drastic. If you look at those numbers, I mean, sure, we have to plan for in the future and make as many spaces available, but what we're seeing is a massive decline in burial space.
So they just have a cremation and take the ashes? So, just
Didn't-
like in, what's that show where they scattered the ashes and
Yeah.
they came back?
On the boat, yeah.
No, what was the show? The Big Lebowski? Wasn't that where they went to the ocean and they
Yes.
threw out the ashes and they all came back in their faces? I mean, yeah, I didn't realize that, that would be.
Well, I think on the numbers, and Kara and Steve probably can add input, but I think 7 out of 10 are being cremated, aren't they?
Oh,
Just about.
Yeah. we're almost
7 out
there.
of 10 is what we're seeing the
Yeah.
numbers. I mean, we're tracking from
Yep.
Cleveland to Toledo
That's a big number.
to those areas, but in
We're a
in
little-
our
a little
northern
light-
state
lighter than that.
of our area that we're keeping track of, it's upwards of 7 out of 10 people are being cremated. Of those 7, 2 go to the cemetery. So you got 5 that are scattered other places, other areas. So half of the people that are passing away are being scattered or put on a bookshelf, if you will, or at home. Golf courses. Number 1 cemetery is Lake Erie for us.
yeah.
You know, or the ocean, as Dennis mentioned. I mean, we see, people having little ceremonies on the ocean front. So
And,
The
but,
trend seems to be
yeah,
going.
I don't know if
It's-
you guys are getting to the point where we're starting to get the calls from next generations. What do we do with these cremated remains? You know, now we've got aunts and uncles and grandparents, people we never even knew in our closet, you know, now what? So, I mean, there's opportunity there for having some type of legacy options.
Do you guys put a certain area for memorials, or is it pretty much anywhere that's
Anywhere.
requested?
Yeah, I mean, if they don't have anyone else in the cemetery, we direct them to our cremation lots just because they're smaller,
Right.
unless they want an upright monument. I do have a couple uprights with no one buried, but we have a section for that.
And is that what you said? That it doesn't matter if it's a flush, upright, whatever they,
Everywhere else,
As
we
far-
direct them to our cremation lots. And
Gotcha.
then they're
Okay.
limited on the size of the monument, but it usually
Okay.
serves the purpose.
Well, that would be extremely important, I think, to the whole idea of the cemetery. I mean, Oakland Cemetery is an oddity. I mean, it's so beautiful, and it happens to be outside the city limits in the county owned by a city. And it has historical significance, but its maintenance over the years has been exemplary. I mean, really. And so I think that something like the trend where you see the decedents being cremated and no logical spot to honor their memory, and their ashes scattered wherever they feel that the decedent would like it, which that's nice by itself. I mean, there's nothing really wrong that people can do, I think, in honor of the people who die. But maybe that's a real opportunity for Oakland to have an area in which you could honor the burial of some ashes of a human within the confines of that cemetery. You do have beauty, you do have grace, you do have something, not simply vacant space. And if 7 out of 10, or whatever that figure was, it was such a huge figure, if that's the percent of people who are foregoing burial, maybe we should be thinking about how they could have some ability to have the ashes represented in a beautiful place like a cemetery. I know we don't want to cheapen the cemetery, of course, but still, it's there for a purpose. It's there so people can respect people who are deceased, which I think we all want to do. That's a great, thank you for bringing that to our attention, that percentage of cremations.
so I'm taking that everybody is definitely in favor of memorials
Sure.
when,
Yeah.
as long as they
Sure.
buy the lot
Sure.
and they stick to the foundation
Sure.
and all our requirements on that. There's no exception. Nothing needs to be, do we want to, I guess, do we want to, or do we prefer to have something that on the headstone that identifies it as a memorial, or no? Do you guys do that?
No.
Like, nothing? It can just read the same way as if
The only
someone.
restriction would be you can't bury anyone else there. You'd have to sell the plot.
So
Yeah.
what,
The revenue from the opening and closing is what we're losing.
Right.
There's still the foundation, the sale of the graves, burial space or area, and then you'll still pick up the foundation fee. But what we're losing would be the opening and closing fees that,
but to Kevin's point, you're allowed to bury 3 bodies
They
or
have to be
3.
related, they have to be family members, or, I mean,
They have to have rights to the space.
The rights to the space, but it can be a full body and 2 ashes, it can be 3 ashes, it can
Okay.
be 2 full bodies, double depth and ash. So they could still technically, even though it has that memorial on it, they would have to make a new headstone now you know, that identifies who else is buried there, and it's gotta be within our row, but we could still get some revenue from if someone has a memorial for, say, their grandpa, and maybe the daughter passes away, or the son, they can still be buried at that spot. I don't see why they wouldn't be able to.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
The other trend that we're seeing is in cemeteries is scattering gardens, where they're designated an area where somebody, I mean, it's public, and then there's some type of wall or where you can charge a fee to put the name
Oh,
and that type of thing. We're seeing and designing more and more of those in there. Close to us would be Castelia is the closest that has a scattering garden, public area, and then you can place a name on a wall.
who
or that
maintains
type.
that, Brett?
Village of Castelia.
Oh. But they
Brett,
had
do
that
you-
for a long time?
I'm guessing I mean, it implemented 10 years ago. In the last 5 years, probably, it's become more
Right.
popular, and it's not taken off. Now, out west, I'm gonna use Nevada, Wyoming, some of those states, very popular. Nevada cremation rate is 90%. Wyoming's 90%. So those areas is way, but they're having public scattering gardens and that type of thing, not to compare us here in Sandusky, Ohio, but other trends in other areas, as we know,
It's
it's
another
growing.
option for
Yeah.
people that may have taken the ashes home in an urn and put it on a shelf.
And after a few years is where we're seeing, you know, oh, our grandson wants to know where his papa's buried, or wants to know where papa is. And to that point that we said, you know, do we allow people to put a marker? That's where that comes into play, is that people still, after several years, the question is popping back up that, you know, can we put a memorial even though papa's at, you know, rest somewhere else? And
What?
that's been.
I like the
Been
idea of the
popular.
wall. I mean, I think
I
that's
do
good,
too.
and they can put different names on the wall
Yeah, I
without
like
having
that.
to.
Is that what they have in Castelia, Brett?
They do not have a wall, they have a paver
Okay.
area, but we've designed several walls. Free form, they're
Sure.
granite, so they're gonna hold up to the elements. And then, you know, this, for instance, for Oakland, the city would say, okay, it's X amount of dollars to spread the ashes, and then it's $500 to put your name on the wall. That would be similar to our columbarium, similar to the public mausoleum, where people pay to have their names engraved on there, but
It's essentially like and I believe I saw it was like a flower garden with a bridge type. And I'm suspecting, I didn't see it happen, but that they spread them in the flower garden, and then I did see the papers. Yeah.
correct.
Good information. Thank you. Yeah.
Have you seen a wall that you could photograph and bring it back, maybe take a look
Yes.
at it? That'd be
Yep.
great. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
He's talking about the cemeteries out west. If you'd have seen some of them cemeteries out there, you would understand why they cremate 90%. It's, I've seen some of them. I seen one in Hawaii 2 years ago, and it was up on a big mound of lava. Now, that lava is hard. What do you do with the body in that? They have to be cremated. They can't even bury someone there.
Or they utilize the upright, you know, columbarium that we have out there. Those, I mean, in Europe, that just about everyone is above ground burial. In mausoleums, whether they be private or public, or columbariums, private and public. Above ground burial is quite, because there's only so much space. As we're utilizing the columbarium, you know, you're getting 100 burials in a 10-foot by 10-foot area.
Well, what it does, it gives the public another option to consider. I mean,
That's what we should do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we should be giving them options.
Okay, anything else?
Nope, that's all for me.
I move we adjourn.